Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. We are on to October 14th, 9:41 a.m., District Court Defendant Lobby number 4. Hey, Nick! What is it this time? You won't believe how many people are here for the trial. Well, it is a murder case. What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door. Next door? Why, don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Atmey's trial today. Detective Atmey? They say they're going to try him as mask to mask. Already? That was fast. Boy, I'd love to see mask to mask's trial. I know. By the way, where's Pearls? Oh, she went back home. She said she can't neglect her training anymore. I know you don't like me. Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh? Yeah, ever since that incident last year. Please, don't ignore me! Oh, Mr. Delight, good morning! No one likes me. No one would notice me even if I killed someone. Come on, don't be silly. Wait a sec. You don't mean you're the murderer? No, I'm just a poor thief! No, wait, that's not right. Thief can't really be poor. Now, let's see. According to Mr. Delight, from his second crime on, he was following a bunch of set plans. Plans that someone had been sending to him to help him commit the heist. Do you really think there's a connection between the thief and the murder, Nick? It's possible, but today's trial is a race against the clock. Huh? How come? Let's just take our time like always. I'm afraid that's not an option. October 14th, 10 a.m. at District Court, courtroom number 6. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron Delight. The defense is ready, Your Honor. You're ready. Preparation is the last refuge of the weak. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin with your opening statement, Mr. Godot. He's not the judge, and he's got the judge in the palm of his hand, yet again. Ron Delight is simply too young to be sent to war. That's all. I'm afraid I have no idea what that means, Mr. Godot. Huh. Then you need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is war. But that is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording. That's all my statement means. You understand now, right? Yes. Well then, let me briefly surmise the details of this case. Wow, the judge is taking charge like he knows what's going on for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. His body was found in a safe at approximately 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated as 1 a.m. of the previous day. And that's when our lost little kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten is, of course, the defendant. Very well, Mr. Godot, please call your first witness. I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee during any given trial. But the first one is always the best. Mr. Godot, your witness. Okay, then. Let's hear what the defendant, Mr. Ron Delight, has to say for himself. The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any objections? It may be a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. Delight to testify. You've got guts, Trite. All right then, Mr. Ron Delight, please take the stand. You did it, didn't you? Yes. What? No, that's not true!
For a moment there, I thought we'd set the record for the shortest trial ever.
Well, Mr. Delight already looks plenty guilty with the face he's making.
And once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his own coffin. Very well. Now then, can you tell me something? If you didn't kill Bullard, why did you go to KB Security?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. Boy, I wish I could go home.
Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened.
My visit to KB Security. That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was.
1 a.m., the exact time the murder took place. The weak get washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. It's bitter today, too. Just like my destiny.
You'd never know that from the way he's chugging it down.
Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please.
Visit to KB Security. That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security.
1 a.m., huh? You're absolutely sure about that?
Yes, that's what my watch said when I was entering the CEO's office. No. Actually, I'm not really sure. My watch was slow, and my internal clock was also a bit...
1 a.m. That's the exact time the victim, Mr. Bullard, was murdered, correct? Too late for a coffee date, that's for sure.
The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there.
It ordered you there?
It was the first time I'd gotten a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere.
Does that mean you'd gotten other blackmail letters then?
Oh, of course. They'd say things like, steal this or take that.
Why don't you save those for later, Mr. Delight? Please don't say any more. Now, what should I do?
So what did the blackmail letter in question say? It said to bring $50,000.
Money, eh? A perfect motive for committing murder.
Oh, but wait! I never intended to pay that money anyway.
Oh, is that right?
After all, he had nothing to hold over my head. I had nothing to be afraid of.
An important point indeed. Witness, let's have that added to your testimony.
Yes, sir.
A muddy mud skipper in outer space has a better chance of surviving than I do.
The blackmail threat didn't scare me. It wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything.
Just what were you being blackmailed about, anyway? Blackmail letter said if you don't want your identity revealed, correct?
I'm sure it was referring to the whole mask-to-mask thing. But I wasn't worried. Mr. Bullard didn't have anything on me.
He didn't?
Anyway, I don't care what anyone says about me. Just as long as Desi believes in me.
That's why Miss Delight didn't believe he was mask-to-mask.
That's why I knew they were just hollow threats. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was.
You used to be a security chief for KB Security, right?
Yes, that's right.
A security chief? You! And yet, a year ago, you were fired without notice. Revenge for an old grudge? A perfect motive for murder, wouldn't you say?
This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject.
Mr. Delight, please tell us why you were fired from your job.
Well...
The world is filled with those who have said, I wish I had never asked that. Okay, then I take it back. Defendant, please answer the question.
I needed money.
You needed money?
Well, you see, Desi loves to spend it. It's kind of her hobby. Not exactly the best hobby in the world, huh, Nick? My salary wasn't nearly enough, so I stole data from the company.
Come again?
KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies, and since I was the security team chief,
You stole some data and sold it.
Mr. Bullard found out and I was fired immediately.
What? I wish I had never asked that.
I was somehow able to keep it secret and made it seem like I had quit on my own. What is it, Nick? You don't look so good.
Someone who brings harm to their company is fired as punishment. You do well to remember that.
He sure told you.
So you admit that you stole data from your company, is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
This is a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony. Oh man, this whole thing just took a big turn for the worse. Crashed and blew up. It's gonna take the jaws of life to rip this case from the clutches of disaster.
He fired me for selling company secrets, but Desi doesn't know about that.
Why would you do something like that?
Well, for Desi's hobby. What else?
Wasting money, huh?
It's not a waste! So Miss Delight doesn't know that her husband was fired, does she?
So it would seem.
I'm not sure what to think about couples who keep secrets like that from each other.
Can't believe it. This case has gotten even Maya to think seriously about couples. Please try to stay focused, Mr. Wright.
There wasn't much to his testimony, was there?
Sounds like he's avoiding something. At least, that's what it sounds like to me.
Uh-oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. We'd better be careful.
If we don't find a way to make him spill the beans, we'll never get closer to the truth.
Yeah.
Hang on. Can I just press this again? Yeah, there we go. Tisk, tisk. I'm afraid that reason isn't going to hold up anymore. What do you mean? The victim had no proof. The defendant was mask to mask. But you were the one who stole company secrets only 1 year earlier.
But that was all over with once I was fired. But it is true, the fact that I stole secrets was kept under wraps. Even so, there was no reason for me to pay up now, a whole year later.
Is that really true?
What is it, Nick?
The fact that Ron was stealing company data. I wonder if he would have had a problem if that ever became public knowledge. Mr. Delight, I believe you would have been in considerable trouble if your identity as a company data thief was made public. Mr. Wright, what are you trying to do by bullying your own client? Ha! Men are like colonies of bacteria. The more heat you apply, the faster they grow. That's exactly right. Well then, feel free to keep up the heat, my little lawyer amigo. Little lawyer amigo? Yes, now come on, provide some evidence to back up your assertion. Why would Mr. Delight want to keep his data sealing secret from going public? Mr. Delight, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday.
Huh? What doesn't?
I think you must have been scared, very scared, of having a certain person find out your secret.
Oh,
A certain person? Miss Desiree Delight, the defendant's wife.
what? But listen to me, my Desi, she's...
Looks like I just sit back and relax. The fun will end before it truly begins. Godot. Yes, we know. It was all your wife's fault. What do you mean? Mr. Delight stole company data to pay for his wife's spending habit, for which he was fired. Unable to face his own wife, someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that is how this murder came about. Oh. No, everything is falling neatly into place for him.
Don't talk about my Desi like that, or you'll be sorry.
Well, it seems that we've learned a great deal of things here so far.
What do you think, Nick?
I didn't think it was possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes. Clearly, there was sufficient motive for murder. He stole data for his wife, and he killed to protect his secret. A family man who cared just a little too much. The motive is clear. Let's move on. What happened at the crime scene at 1 in the morning, Mr. Delight? Come now, tell us. We're all ears.
At the CEO's office. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there, dead.
I see. Suddenly hit on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided similar testimony. He said that mask-to-mask struck him on the head from behind. Of course, since Atme turned out to be the culprit himself, that was all a lie. Huh. No one's going to believe a pathetic lie like that.
What are you saying? I really was attacked.
We'll find out if what you say is true or not during the cross-examination. Got that, Mr. Trite. Don't go so easy just because he's your client. If I see any signs that you are, I'll treat you to another cup of my special blend. You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it.
At the CEO's office. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
Who was this suspicious shadow?
If there were 1,000 of me, and if even one knew, I'd tell you. Trust me. His dodging all of our questions is not helping us win his case.
Okay, then how was the victim Mr. Bullard at that time?
What do you mean by how was he?
Was he already dead? Was he still alive? Maybe he was the one who hit you in the first place.
That's a good question. What do you think, Mr. Wright?
Forget it.
Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed.
Your forehead?
Yes, I was hit on the forehead as soon as I entered the room. It was an amazingly fast and powerful attack.
Do you remember anything about who hit you?
Well, like I said, it was a fast and powerful hit. So I think I was a little dazed for a while. I don't think Mr. Delight even grasped what you were asking.
Yeah, I'd like to show him a fast and powerful attack myself. Maybe that would knock some sense back into him.
If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed.
That? Could you please clarify what you were referring to?
Why, my mask-to-mask costume, of course.
Wait just a moment. Mask to mask.
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as mask-to-mask. And then I descended upon this office of the CEO of KB Security.
What?
Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this.
I don't even recall him ever mentioning it to me either. Even I didn't know that. Seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets.
I'm sorry. I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Wait. That's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind.
My 6th cup of coffee is staring at me coldly. At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony.
I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my mask-to-mask costume.
Why were you dressed up as mask-to-mask?
Why? Because I'm mask-to-mask, of course.
What are you talking about? Mask-to-mask trial is being held next door.
Oh, yes, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the mask-to-mask issue. So I thought I should go as him, just to be safe.
Oh boy.
And let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I'd expected.
Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? What do you mean by took a lot longer?
Oh, opening the safe, of course. My cape got caught on the safe door, you see. This all happened while I was hiding Mr. Bullard's body.
What was that? Back up a second.
Yes?
You were the one that hid the body in the safe?
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable! Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? What? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they take them off. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying.
Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer?
So you're not as stupid as you look.
His metaphor this time was really obscure.
Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you? Well... Yes. Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to the testimony.
Yes, sir.
Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving in over the fair weather judge.
I panicked and hid the body in the safe. Took about 10 minutes.
Hang on.
When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there, dead.
When you came to?
Yes, I was passed out in the corner of the room.
Do you know when your assailant made their escape, and to where?
I'm afraid I don't really remember.
Huh?
Once they hit me, I lost all track of what was going on. I think that's when they made their escape.
Huh! That's certainly a convenient story for you, isn't it? It certainly is, isn't it? Mr. Wright, it almost sounds practiced. I don't know why you're telling me.
I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes.
Why did you hide the body in the safe anyway?
Well, because it wouldn't fit in a drawer.
That's not exactly what I meant.
When I saw that corpse, I kind of lost it. I thought, if they find his corpse, they'll think I did it.
Huh. I think you had a simpler reason than that. It's because you killed him. That's why you spent 10 minutes hiding the body. That certainly makes more sense. Hold on. 10 minutes?
What is it, Nick?
I just had a thought. Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide... Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide the body? And spend 10 whole minutes to do it?
Under those circumstances? What circumstances? Oh! Hey, Nick, if you think his behavior was so strange, why don't you present some evidence that would show just what those circumstances were?
That's it. I'll take a look at the court record to present some evidence.
We heard this from Mr. Delight yesterday, didn't we?
There's not much in this testimony either.
I bet you he's still hiding something.
I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just have to draw it out of him.
I just hope he doesn't make things more complicated.
Do they want me to present the button or the buzzer record? Or the buzzer record? I'm going to show this. There we go. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, a security team is supposed to come running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once, at 1:02 a.m. What? If Mr. Ron Delight truly was the murderer, he would have ran as soon as that buzzer sounded. After all, the security guard would have been heading his way. Ha! Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He probably had no idea there were security personnel in the building. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about them. But, as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser, who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend, and wasn't anywhere in the vicinity was not something Mr. Light could have known. Ha! Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Mr. Delight didn't even notice the buzzer going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There's no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? Well, what do you mean by that? Fine. Let's hear your theory. Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Light said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So what are you trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out, and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right. Whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer. Order in the court! Mr. Wright, this is preposterous. It was this kid. Ron Delight is the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. And he didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene, but how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? The defense's opinion is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. The buzzer itself. I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence that we're looking for. The emergency buzzer? Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue. Now I'm the one who's clueless. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally, he would have left his fingerprints behind. Ron Delight obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button. I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed as Mask to Mask. And Mask to Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have to wipe the button free of fingerprints? Order! 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 Ah, it would seem I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder what blend number crow-flavored coffee is. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Ha! It looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks.
They're on to you, Nick.
Just give me a moment to collect my thoughts.
The real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 a.m. And Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right? The killer clobbered Mr. Delight and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed. Security was supposed to respond.
Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Very well, then. Oh ho. You've got some guts. I like that in an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer?
The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted.
Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose?
Yes, although, as it turned out, he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time.
What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in?
No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron Delight, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer.
Hypothetically, yes.
Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and Ron Delight. And if any security guards came running in at that time, they would think that I was the murderer! Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron Delight for the murder.
Order! 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 It would seem I've been made to eat my words once again.
Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the one and only masked mess, so... Nick, you mean the real killer is...
We're going to drag that person in here right now.
But, who is it?
I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Mr. Ron Delight for the murder of Kane Bullard?
Detective Luke Atmey. He's the only one who could have done it.
Ace Detective
Luke Atmey?
You mean Master Mask did it?
Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not Master Mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard.
Order! Order! Mr. Wright, explain yourself!
Theft and murder. Which is the more serious crime?
They're not even close. Murder is the more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to a capital punishment.
Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke Atmey confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom.
Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as, well, Master Mask.
Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along.
To be found guilty?
Master Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Atmey's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi.
A guilty verdict as an alibi! You know, it's almost time. For what? For Luke Atmey's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial, after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course, that's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Luke Atmey's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal. Am I really sure about this? A bet's only good when your life's of the ante.
Mr. Wright, I believe in you.
Mr. Delight.
So, please, I'm begging you.
Thanks. But my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this?
Phoenix.
What was that?
Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust.
That voice. It sounds like... Mia! Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. Ha! So that's your answer, huh? Very well. I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke Atmey to the stand. Yes, Your Honor. October 14th, 11:58 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 5.
Well, Sir Detective Atmey. I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly. Oh no, Sir Detective Atmey, you were the one who...
You're Canadian, aren't you? Or you have, like, weird Canadian words. That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Luke Atmey. Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please! Well, well. Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom. Who's this hoser, eh? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law, and I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke Atmey.
Accusation? You accused Master Mask?
That man is not Master Mask. He is just a ruthless murderer. What? Alrighty. Let's go. October 14th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 4.
My sis?
I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice.
So then, she's still alive, inside your heart. Nicky boy!
Oh, Miss Delight.
Is it true that Detective is the real killer?
To be honest, we don't have any definitive proof. But he's the only one who could have done it.
But wasn't he at Lordly Taylor that night? Not to mention, we don't exactly know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Atmey want to kill Kane Bullard?
Oops, it's almost time. Better get back to the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof. And it's gotta happen sooner rather than later. October 14th, 12:21 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 6. Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Atmey, please take the stand.
Well, well, how do you do, Sir Lawyer? I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly.
I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. Not when it would have given you your perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Master Mask.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atme has no idea what you mean. Of course, I've been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here.
You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Master Mask.
Indeed. Truly child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine finger, for example.
So you continue to insist that you are, in fact, Master Mask.
Of course.
Very well then, Luke Atme. Let us begin with this simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., Kane Bullard was murdered. Where were you at that time?
One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. We don't worry. But don't worry, I will not hold it against you, Sir Judge.
Thanks?
All right, Mr. Atme. The night of the murder. Speak. We're all ears. As you wish, Sir Prosecutor.
The alibi.
I was sealing the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case one turned out to be my witness. The time at which the camera captured Master Mask was the same time as the murder.
Seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene.
Everything else up until now was all part of his plan. There has to be a secret to this picture as well. Even the great Master Mask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive.
Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we still have to do your cross-examination.
A fool is too foolish to know that he is a fool. I think he's trying to say that you're full of it, Nick.
The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. The alibi.
I was stealing the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would.
So this photograph is the proof, correct?
Indeed it is. And the man in the photo is certainly wearing a mask. That is why I'm called Master Mask.
But conveniently, that also means that there's no way to tell who this really is. What do you mean? Are you saying that this is not, in fact, Luke Atme? That it could be an accomplice dressed up as Master Mask to create an alibi?
Ho ho! What an interesting idea. Are you saying that I, Lone Wolf Luke, had an accomplice?
If Luke Atme was at KB Security during the murder, then the Master Mask in this picture has to be a fake.
Then there really was an accomplice.
Right now, I have no idea who it was.
I don't have any idea right now either.
Baseless objections are just what this guy wants. There's gotta be another way, and I'm gonna find it.
He had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job.
I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point.
That's right. That was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken.
You sent the calling card to Lord Lee Taylor 10 days before the heist. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, correct?
Indeed. There was no reason why I wouldn't do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest target.
I see. You truly are evil, aren't you?
Yes,
Evil is what I am.
Hey, Nick, isn't there something odd about this?
Hmm?
Detective Atme was always proud of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lordly Taylor while he was the only one watching it, he'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona.
You know, that's true. It is kind of odd. Photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. So by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here. Is that correct? Indeed it is. The very thing that proves I committed the crime. The very thing that proves you committed the crime? When you think about it, it's really odd. You say that almost as if you had this picture taken on purpose. He was simply caught by the very camera that he'd set up. We all have days like that. Indeed. Turns out that there was no such thing as the perfect crime after all. Life is truly an ironic thing, a sad blue melody. Looks like I'd better gather more information for now. If he's truly the killer, there's gotta be something phony in that photo. I think I see it. The time at which the camera captured Master Mass was the same time as the murder. About the camera that took this photograph. Oh, come now, it's all too clear what you're thinking. Huh? You think I altered the timestamp on the photograph, don't you? I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lordly Taylor, and on top of that, it was Lordly Taylor's staff that printed that picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way that picture could have been altered. I see. Looks like I'd better find something else that could be suspicious.
So this alibi is false?
It has to be, or he couldn't have killed Mr. Bullet at KB Security.
But I'm not really spotting anything unusual.
There are two possibilities. Either the masked mask in the photo is a fake, or the photo itself is. It doesn't have any paint on the box. Though the paint spill already occurred, so there should be paint on the box, but there isn't. If Luke Atme was at KB Security during the murder, then the masked mask in this photo has to be a fake. Exactly. You had an accomplice. Now remember you said that, Mr. Trite, because there's no going back. If you're making baseless claims, I'll treat you to a penalty myself.
That penalty is probably boiling hot, too.
So, who is it, Trite? Who was the accomplice? Can I say the accomplice was the security camera photo? Oh, it was this person. Huh, it's quite the prank. Do you have any evidence? Damn it. What about their aura? Your number one suspect, Mr. Wright.
I had more than enough time to prepare pathetically.
In this case, one turned out to be my witness.
Isn't there something funny about this picture?
There is.
Are you implying that this picture is a fake?
You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. We took a look around the basement warehouse that night before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't match my memory of that night. Very well then, let's hear what you have to say. What about this photograph do you find funny?
Should I point out the paint or should I point out the box? The box is what's off, but the paint is what's different from what we saw the night before the murder. I think it's the paint. Okay. The funny part is right here.
Why, this is a blood stain. Ah, blood. Now this case is getting interesting.
Not exactly. This stain is actually pink paint.
Oh, just paint. And peach-colored at that.
From blood to peaches. The judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is, when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse, it turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen.
Well, Mr. Wright, what is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains?
The supervisor of the treasure exhibit stated the following. Well, there was a good reason for that. On the day of the crime around noon, that golden statue just happened to arrive in the mountain training hall. I realized the statue would be the perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it. I myself was there the night the theft took place, and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken on that night, then that statue should have been there.
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was somehow pushed there accidentally?
Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself, and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it at that distance.
In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why that statue was moved that night?
Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it?
Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you're prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved the golden statue on the night of the crime?
It would have had to be Luke Atme. The one who moved the statue is none other than Luke Atme. Come now, Sir Lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions.
Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions?
It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night. That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? Reason for moving the golden statue. Here's where our battle really begins.
Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move that statue?
The reason can be found here in this photograph. Luke Atme, you pretended to be Mask to Mask. Create an alibi by showing you were at Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would be exposed like cheap film at a drugstore. That is why you had to move the statue.
Single fatal flaw?
Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Just where in this picture does this lie exist? The lie is Mask to Mask.
Are you saying that this Mask to Mask is a fake?
Ah! You know, I really wish you would start acting more responsibly.
Huh?
The current question is, why was the golden statue moved? What possible connection could there be with Mask to Mask's identity? Well, I was trying to... Oh, buggers.
Your face has "oh buggers" written all over it. That's a penalty for you. Ah!
I guess point at the paint again? I was trying to point at the box. The lie in this photo is somewhere around here, jumping to conclusions again. As the Yiddish proverb, half-truth is the whole truth. Stop calling me a liar. Damn it. I was trying to point at the box. Question is, why was the statue moved, right? There was some reason the culprit didn't want the statue in the picture. At least that's what I thought. I'll ask you again, Mr. Tribe. Where does lie exist? Is it the time? Okay. Naturally, the lie is in this photo is the timestamp.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atme went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time.
Well, what does this have to do with the statue being moved?
Remember, if you will, Your Honor. When was the statue placed beside the warehouse door?
Well, the statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime, and it was placed there in order to cover up the paint.
Exactly. Luke Atme had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so, in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place.
What the...
Of course, the statue hadn't yet been brought down to the basement warehouse yet.
Ah!
So, on the day of the crime, Mr. Atme must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atme had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He had to do it to make the room match with the way it had been in his photo.
Order! Order! Mr. Atme, is this true?
One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this?
What is that?
The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime. It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lordly Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage the data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data.
Order! Order! Mr. Godot, what is the meaning of this? Godot, I warned you about making me wait. Now put that coffee down.
My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial. Which means I'm still good to the last drop.
The defense has a very good point.
A good point? So what? We are all but travelers on a road of infinite points. I think he's got his points mixed up with his other points. So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time, and that the statue was moved in order to make it match. That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied, which is that it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams.
That's very true.
No way, don't fall for that, Your Honor. Hey, Mr. Damask. Yes? If there's no funny business in your actions as Master Mask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it.
Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the Sacred Urn.
The Sacred Urn heist. I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed in a box and Zavari. It was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th. That's pretty much all stuff we've heard before, isn't it? Yeah, but we will find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave.
Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time?
Zavari.
Very well then. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
The Sacred Urn Heist. I first received the request from Lordly Taylor about 20 days ago.
You were asked to guard the urn by Miss Adrian Andrews, is that right?
Indeed. Seems that they had heard of my Zvarkling reputation.
I see Miss Andrews is still attracting the weirdos.
You better watch out.
You better watch out too, Maya.
The urn was placed in a box, and Zavari was then sent to the warehouse.
You mean this box?
Yes, that pathetic box. Lady Andrews was especially taken with that urn, and she wouldn't let anyone enter the storeroom, not even me.
Huh. Interesting new tidbit.
Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime.
So you're sure that you had never seen the urn before?
Indeed. You may ask Lady Andrews to confirm for yourself. My security was focused entirely on the entrance to that warehouse. However, look at me, let no information whatsoever slip through my fingers. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand.
You mean this calling card?
That's right. That is, without a doubt, my calling card. I guess Mr. Delight didn't make this after all.
Of course, because Atme knew about the emblem. Making this card authentic would have been child's play for him.
I then handled security by myself to ensure that my crime would go smoothly.
Then no one entered the basement warehouse?
Unfortunately, there were many different treasures being taken there. Thus, for a period of approximately 5 days, people were indeed going in and out of the warehouse. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th.
And this is the photo that proves that, huh?
Indeed. To be honest, even a photo was taken. I didn't think it would matter terribly much. Hey, Nick, if this photo is a fake, Detective Atme might have stolen the urn whenever this was taken.
That's true. You know, he's been saying that he never saw the urn until that night. If we can prove that he's lying there, we can wrap this up and put a bow on it. We need to take a good hard look at the court record.
Not a lot to go on, is there?
That detective's been covering his tracks. There's only one thing we need to prove in this cross-examination. That he took this photo well before the actual night of the crime.
Alright then, how do we do that?
There's one thing that Atme stated very carefully. Clearly, that he had never seen the urn before he stole it.
We need to prove that he's lying.
Damn. Objection denied.
Of my hands on the urn for the first time. Damn it. Last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 a.m. on October 12th. Yeah, I've already done that, I'm pretty sure. I think it's gotta be one of these two statements, right? And it has to do with the urn, right? Has to do with one of the urn bits. Did I show the box here? I did. Okay, hang on. The urn was placed in a box and Zavaria was sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. Of the speckled urn. Bastard. Mr. Atme, if you really are Master Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct? But of course! Is there a problem with that calling card? Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Master Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to this pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, that is true. But so what? Truth be told, there's no way that Master Mask could have known about this pattern. What do you mean? This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains did not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor. I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite. The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say an error-prone human. And that's when the pink paint got on the urn. You can't be serious. And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atme had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder was no longer holds water. Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken. Nick, I think it's still a little early for a victory pose. Huh? I'm only on cup 14. It's so sad. No one has any conviction these days. Conviction, you say? Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Master Mask. And now we're calling him a murderer. You don't think we're being a tad fickle? That's a good point. No way, don't fall for that too, Your Honor. You say that Luke Atme was the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then let me ask you this. Why would he do that? An excellent point. Motive, Mr. Wright. Motive. Might you, my merry murderous motive manifest? Nick, He's getting his second wind.
If he prepared an alibi and pinned his crime on Ron Delight as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder. The only one with any motive we've seen is Ron Delight. Isn't that right, Detective?
Indeed. According to my own research, the boy's motive is clear.
Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were.
I'd be honored to, Sir Old-Timer.
They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. Motive for murder.
I, Luke Atme, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight. And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Master Mask. That is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
So the victim, Kane Bullard, blackmailed the defendant? This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. A handwriting test confirms that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter.
What?
Found in Ron Delight's room, written by Bullard. Very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination. Motive for murder.
I, Luke Atme, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever.
And who in the world is going to prove that? I will. After doing a thorough background check of Detective Atme and Kane Bullard, we were unable to find any links between them. It's all in the report. Perhaps they were connected through their work. They were both involved in security. Nope. I was blunt.
In any case, the only one with a motive was Mr. Delight. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was.
Mistook?
That's right. Mistook. From the Old Norse mistaka, meaning to take an error.
That wasn't what I meant. Just who did the victim mistake Master Mask to be?
Why, the answer is obvious. Ron Delight, of course.
Boy, I'd like to wipe that smug look off this guy's face. Why would the victim mistake the defendant for Master Mask?
Don't you already know that? Zavadi, take a look at this newspaper.
Oh, that's the famous Tear of Amenon, a magnificent jewel.
That photo shows a magnificent detective as well, does it not? Furthermore, it also shows an ugly guard, namely the defendant.
The defendant?
The victim clearly misread this article, and Zavadi, he got the wrong impression. An impression that this ugly security guard was in fact Master Mask.
I see.
That was an unusually reasonable deduction. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Ron Delight.
That's wrong. You mean this blackmail letter right here? It says bring $50,000. And the handwriting is without a doubt the victim's? There's no mistake. We have an official report to prove it. But I don't see an addressee on this letter anywhere. An addressee? This letter was discovered in Ron Delight's apartment. And Mr. Delight did show up at the designated place and time. The fact that there is no addressee is irrelevant. I wonder...
What's up, Nick?
I just had a thought. What if that blackmail letter wasn't meant for Mr. Delight?
Whoa, do you have any evidence of that?
For some reason, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something not quite right about this blackmail letter.
Well, everyone, are you quite satisfied? And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against Mr. Delight for his betrayal.
What do you mean by that?
Oh my, I was certain you were already aware. Zavadi! KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies, and since I was the security team chief, I stole data from the company.
Kane Bullard had yet to forgive young Mr. Delight, which is why he sent him that letter upon mistakenly believing he was the thief. Here's a file that we discovered in Mr. Bullard's office. Evidence that Mr. Bullard was receiving money through blackmail. However, isn't this a bit odd? Why did the defendant pay Mr. Bullard the money, even though he wasn't actually Master Mask?
On that point, there was an unfortunate bit of chance. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Master Mask.
Do you really think that story's gonna hold up?
That assertion is not merely my own, I'm afraid.
What do you mean? I have here a memo from Ron Delight's wife, Desiree Delight. Ronnie thinks he's Master Mask. Don't you feel sorry for him? Please don't think too badly of him. Well, Mr. Trite. Was he trying to act like Miss Delight just now?
I thought he was actually pretty convincing. That is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy.
Now that's just your imagination talking.
Come now, Sir Lawyer. I'm afraid imagination isn't the right word for it. This is a deduction, the result of carefully applied reasoning.
Can we hear that carefully? Can we hear that careful reasoning for ourselves?
It's a long story, and better saved for another time.
Very well. Another time. Those so-called long stories aren't usually all that long. At least not in my experience.
So you're going to try to connect Detective Atme to Mr. Bullard, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully it won't require surgery either.
In that case, you'll have to talk about the blackmail.
That's true. Was that blackmail letter really intended for Ron?
Since we don't have enough information, you should try to press him for more testimony.
Maybe I'll be able to shake some contradictions loose that way. Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atme?
Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's all right.
When you said that this letter was addressed to Ron Delight, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction.
Contradiction?
I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying something like that. You're one to talk. At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior? Indeed, time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. Show us the contradicting evidence in the content of the blackmail letter. It's in the letter itself. It's right here. If you don't, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Can I just not show the letter? Okay. Little 2-1 punch wouldn't even faze me. I think you mean 1-2 punch. Mr. Wright, try thinking before... Ah, fuck! Ouch. Yeah, I know what it says, but... Do we have anything about a red... I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Is it at me? It's about the diamond. I swear it is. If you don't want your true identity revealed to the world, come to KB Security at 1 a.m. and bring $50,000. If you don't, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day instead. Okay, take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the Tear of Emanon, the stolen jewel. What are you talking about? The problem is this jewel's color. Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the Tear of Emanon that Master Mask stole at all. And your point is, Mr. Trite? So you are trying to say that this blackmail letter was intended for someone else? That is what you are trying to say, right, Trite? What is it you're trying to say, right, Mr. Wright?
Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick?
Yes. This is who Kane Bullard was actually blackmailing. Naturally, it was you, Detective Atme. Do you have some sort of basis for that claim? You have been personally involved in every single Master Mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen and received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? Probably the one wrapped conspicuously around your finger. The diamond ring. That is the diamond referred to in the letter, which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you. Order in the court. Order, I say. It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite. Uh-oh. I don't like the way you said that. Kane Bullard blackmailing Luke Atme? Are you for real? Yes, I am.
Nick, come on, stand up to him.
Then answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world. Yes, clearly does. Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atme's identity public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So just what was that identity? Atme killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret?
This is what it all comes down to, Nick.
The identity that Luke Atme wanted to so desperately keep secret was his identity as... Luke Atme was a blackmailer. Objection. Hey now, isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atme. Are you saying that Atme was blackmailing someone else on top of that?
You have to admit, that does sound a bit odd.
It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme. But Ron Delight was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So, did you start receiving blackmail letters after this incident?
Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Emanon heist. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans.
Detailed plans? In which case, that would mean that Ron Delight was actually Master Mask. That is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans, and had Mr. Delight steal his targets for him. And that someone was none other than Luke Atme.
Silence! Now I see, it's all becoming clear.
What is?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless, with a tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong?
How did you...
You say that I, Luke Atme, was blackmailing Ron Delight. In which case, I would naturally know all about his relations to Master Mask.
Well, yes.
Ron Delight started receiving plans from his second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed that first crime.
Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise. In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atme know that Ron Delight was Master Mask? I think I see it.
See what?
When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into lots of mischief trying to be the center of attention.
What do you mean?
This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron Delight in his guard uniform. It seems that Master Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in a bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true! Correct. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atme. That's when you learned that under his mask, Master Mask was really Ron Delight.
What the? Wasn't he supposed to be Master Mask? Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective.
I can't believe it! He was just a slimy blackmailer. What a fraud, trying to pass himself off as an ace detective.
Why, you... How dare you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I've never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective, and also Master Mask. Why can't you understand that?
I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity.
Why, you... How dare you even dare imply... Why not yourselves, the big mouth of yours? I say, none of this can compare to my genius. Desecrate me, ace detective cannot handle blackmail and murder. It's enough to make one laugh.
It would seem we finally arrived at the real answer.
That was quite a performance by Mr. Atme.
Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Atme. The hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim. What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling. Allow me to say one thing. I will be the one to judge.
You don't get much more in your face than that.
It appears that your claws aren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite. What did you... It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Atme was a filthy blackmailer, and that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder. That's right. That's why he's the one who killed Mr. Bull. But... there's still one thing you have yet to prove. What's that? Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean that he was at the murder scene. Therefore, if you can't prove this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered. No. No way! Order in the court! Well, Mr. Wright, this is it. This is the final round. I've got to prove that Atme was at Mr. Bullard's office that night.
But, can you really prove that?
That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer. That night, Luke Abney was at KB Security, and the defense... The defense can prove it, with evidence. Are you sure? Ha! Don't you worry. I'll watch over you as you break down and fall to pieces. Very well then, let's see this proof. Proof that Luke Atney was at KB Security that night. This is the proof. It's true. That is very important. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But if we hear more of Detective Atney's testimony, unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite. What do you mean? I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean. What? Have you forgotten? Luke Atney is here after we interrupted his own trial. And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as mask to mask. No.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Ron Delights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness.
Order! Order in the court! That's enough deliberation over this witness.
I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is... Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence and...
By then, it'll be too late.
Huh? But why?
Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law.
Double jeopardy?
Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant can't be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts, and it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else. Mr. Atney will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as mask to mask, which means he will be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned.
No way.
The fact that you are unable to prove Mr. Atney's guilt of that crime here means that he will never again be tried as Kane Bullard's murderer.
Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even if Ron is proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Atney, will go free.
You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today. And as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that there will be no further questioning of this witness. Are there any objections? Then I hereby end the cross-examination of Luke Atney.
I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this is This is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing, and often makes mistakes as a result.
How did you?
Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles no matter how bad it gets. That voice. No way. Long time no see, Phoenix.
Mia! This is the true power of the Korean channeling technique. I know that it's really Maya who's standing before me. Right now, she's my mentor, Mia Fey.
Now, let's do this.
But there's nothing more we can do, Mia. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine...
Not yet. The testimony's not over yet.
What do you mean?
Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today.
Yes, that is true, but...
Unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, this witness made a number of remarks.
Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Ron Delights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness. Yes, but these comments appear to have no importance whatsoever.
Very well. Then we shall prove their importance via cross-examination. At any rate, as long as the witness has made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that all right with you, prosecutor?
Is something the matter, Mr. Godot? Nothing.
Oh, Sir Lawyer, it looks like you're one step too late. If you think such falsehoods will do anything to me, look at...
Let's hear it.
Huh?
It's true that the witness had made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination.
Mr. Godot, what are you...
Very well then, Mr. Luke at me. I'm going to allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks.
The defense would like to hear why you declared the defendant to be the true murderer.
So please, give us one last bit of testimony.
Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last chance.
Yes, Chief.
The last testimony. Indeed, it's true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about other vitally important job requests. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. Thanks to the keycard and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. And also, I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his Master Mask outfit, which is why he left no print. And the blackmail letter? The victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Zavadi. Therefore, all the evidence points to the poor boy.
This testimony actually seems to hold up pretty well. Witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All of his points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything.
But of course.
But, how did you know about the emergency buzzer?
The police investigation documents went directly through me. And I always look over all the documents. It's an elementary, Sir Lawyer.
Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, Sir Lawyer? I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. You cannot postpone Lugatmi's trial any longer. This is your last chance.
Hang on a sec. Just one chance.
Seems that the party's about to begin.
Well, Phoenix, there isn't any evidence that contradicts with that testimony. So it would seem.
What do you mean, so it would seem?
Listen, Phoenix, pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, though. At any rate, this is our last chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it.
Cup number 17. The last cup. It seems that the time has come to put an end to this trial. I have to find a fatal contradiction in this testimony, and I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find the contradictory remark and press it.
Remember, you only get one chance.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination. The last testimony. This one. Mr. Atme, about this last remark. You still don't get it, do you, Trite? This isn't the time to be pressing the witness on every little statement. I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Godot. What? Mr. Atme, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder.
How can you say that?
Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atme? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. Is that correct?
Indeed, that's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof.
More like your deductions prove that you're a fool.
I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean?
For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty. When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron Delight was dressed as mask-to-mask when he went to the scene of the crime? That was, it was just a few hours ago. Back when my sixth cup was looking at me with a cold stare.
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now.
That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only people who would have known were those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atme? There's no way that you should have known about that. You were in the next courtroom, being tried as mask-to-mask. So then, enlighten us. Just how did you know about that piece of information?
Well...
Come on. This detective must have known about it. He probably had plenty of chances to find out beforehand. And it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. There is one and only one way for Detective Atme to have found that out. Only one way, you say? Please recall, if you will, Mr. Delight's testimony.
When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there.
For a second, my client witnessed the real killer. But Mr. Delight never saw his attacker. So there was no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atme. It's with this statement that I'll turn this case on its head. Just what are you implying? Mr. Delight saw the real killer, correct? Now, if you turn that statement around, it stands to reason that the real killer had also seen Ron Delight. Impossible. Detective Atme, you saw Master Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron Delight. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing.
Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was forced to create one by myself. Here I am, the tragic clown.
That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time.
Oh,
What an awfully complicated incident. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme, who was, in turn, blackmailing Ron Delight. And upon killing his blackmailer, Luke Atme tried to frame Ron Delight. He then claimed to be guilty as Master Mask in order to escape his true crime. And to that end, he came up with this plan, to use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi.
At
any rate, it would seem we finally found the truth.
excuse me.
I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man, besmirching him with the title of murderer.
Don't ignore me!
Oh, I didn't realize you were there.
Why wouldn't he be? About the verdict.
I know. You never committed any murder.
That's right, and I'm so glad you understand that. But I really am Master Mask!
Huh?
So, thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it that you said? Double jeopardy?
Now that you mention it, I've been careless.
Careless?
What do you think, Mia?
As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime in which he was once found innocent.
Then, Master Mask is really innocent?
It would seem so. For now.
Now. Now then, this court finds the defendant.
Boy, this really is lucky. Oh, wait, this isn't so good after all. You see, the thing is, I still am Master Mask after all.
October 14th, 3:35 p.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 4.
You did it, Phoenix.
Thanks, Mia. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days.
Oh?
I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't take everything so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems kind of torn these days.
You mean about becoming the master of the Crane Channeling School?
Becoming the master means saying goodbye to our mother.
Misty Faye, right?
Watch over her, will you, Phoenix?
Of course.
Well then, see you around.
Mia.
Mr. Wright! I don't know what to say.
Congratulations, Mr. Delight.
Thank you so much. No, wait. Nothing really matters anymore, though, now that all of this has happened.
Come on, just be happy already. Maya.
You've been cleared of the murder charges and got off as Master Mask to boot. But in exchange, I lost everything.
Huh? What do you mean?
Stealing security information from KB Security, becoming Master Mask. I did it all for one reason. For her.
You mean your wife, Desiree?
She hates criminals more than anything.
Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she?
She always said how she hated sneaky criminals. I knew that, but... Once I got fired from KB Security and lost all the money I had, she wouldn't have had any reason to stay with me. I thought she would leave me for sure.
So that's why you became Master Mask?
Yes, but it's all over now. A broken bowl can never be put back together.
That's not true, right, Nick? Right.
Really? Can we go back to the way things were? You'll be fine, and Nick can prove it.
I can? Kinda wish you would check with me first. I think I know what they want to show. Mr. Delight, even if a bowl is broken, there's always a way to put it back together.
Sacred Urn! Desi was the one who found this.
Desiree, your wife. She's always believed in you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything.
Ah, there you are.
Miss Delight.
You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy. Thank you. I appreciate that, but, I suppose you don't want anything more to do with me, do you? Ronnie, why didn't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you'd quit KB Security. I never imagined that you were really Master Mask either. Mr. Light, what are you going to do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you? Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast that there's no way he could ever get away.
But didn't you say that you hated criminals?
Oh, I only hate people who act all cowardly and sneaky. Like that detective.
I see.
My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them like a man. I just love a man who's so chivalrous. Chivalrous? I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement. Desi!
Desiree, you really do love Ron, don't you?
Nicky boy.
Yes?
I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us.
Oh, well, take care of yourself.
You too, Nicky boy.
Gulp. I can feel my face going red.
Mr. Nick, Mystic Maya, congratulations!
Talk about bad timing.
Mr. Nick, how could you, with another man's wife in front of Mystic Maya? No, you've got it wrong. I'll never forgive you.
Damn. It's over. But just as the case came to a close, so did my consciousness. Damn, she slapped you that hard? She's 9! She's 9! 9-year-olds don't hit that hard. Ron said a broken bowl can never be put back together. But I know that's not true. I mean, just look. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together even better than before. Episode 2, The Stolen Turnabout. The end. Brand new episode has been added. Recipe for Turnabout. I would love to save my progress. Boom. There we go. An almost 2-hour trial. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, the Stolen Turnabout's real good. I'm not... I really, really like the Stolen Turnabout. Thinking back. Yeah, I think all of the times that I was stuck was due to my poor thought process. I will say, I think trying to get people to point to the timestamp of the photograph as the big gotcha is a bit of a stretch. Especially since we didn't really have any record. Like, I guess we didn't have any record that necessarily pinpointed the day. Well, actually, we did, didn't we? But it was like, okay, like I kind of see it, but I also think it's kind of a stretch. It's a little bit, maybe if I look at it a bit more. But other than that, it's not that big of a stretch. I think it's a stretch, but it's not that big of a stretch. But yeah, the Stolen Turnabout is one of the best cases in the original trilogy. It probably, I would say, outside of the finales of these games, it's probably the best one. Yeah, definitely. outside of the finales, the Stolen Turnabout is the best case in the original trilogy. It's real good. It's a real good case. I like the Stolen Turnabout a lot. Uh, but yeah, that's gonna be it for now. Next time we're gonna go for Recipe for Turnabout, which is still pretty good. But yeah, probably not as good as the Stolen Turnabout. Like, still pretty good, but not as good. It's fine though, because we'll get to the real meat of things later. But yeah, that is all. Thank you for watching, especially if you got this far, and stick around, because there's a lot more to come.